The Gulf Stream G700 sliced through the West African clouds like a silver blade. Below, the Atlantic Ocean glittered, and beyond it, sprawling, chaotic, glorious, lay Lagos. Adekunle Ogunyemi stretched his long legs in the cream leather seat, a half-empty glass of chilled zobo on the mahogany fold-out table. The jet's interior was all soft gray suede, matte gold accents, and a digital control panel that dimmed the windows at the touch of a finger. His father believed in traveling well. If you must suffer, son, suffer in first class. But Adekunle wasn't suffering. He pressed his face to the oval window like a child at a candy store. Red earth, tin roofs, a million tiny streets snaking into a million tiny lives. For 28 years, Nigeria had been a myth, a passport stamp, a story his mother told in bedtime Yoruba, a scent of dawa and iru that floated from her kitchen in their Toronto mansion. Now it was real. First time, he murmured to himself, grinning. First time touching the motherland. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother, Chief Mrs. Falake Ogunyemi. Egbonmi, the driver is waiting, and please, no shorts. This is Nigeria, not Vancouver Beach. He laughed out loud. The plane banked left, and the city opened beneath him like a living organism. Glass towers next to wooden shacks, a Lamborghini stuck behind a donkey cart, billboards of smiling pastors and fading politicians. It was beautiful chaos. Home. The private terminal at Murtala Muhammad Airport was an exercise in controlled opulence. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Air conditioning so aggressive it could freeze a glass of kunu. A red carpet that looked imported from Dubai. Adekunle stepped down the aircraft stairs and was immediately hit by a wall of heat. Thick, wet, and smelling of jet fuel, frying plantains, and something indefinable called Naija. "Omo me," a voice boomed. His mother emerged from a convoy of 3 black Mercedes Maybachs. Her gele head tie a structure of burgundy silk that seemed to defy physics. She wore an iro and buba of hand-woven aso oke, gold beads heavy around her neck, and the kind of perfume that announced itself before she did. She grabbed his face with both hands. "Look at you, too skinny, too pale. Canada rice doesn't have soul, I told your father." "Mom, I eat. Rice and beans? With no obe? No ewedu?" She clicked her tongue. "We will fix you. 2 weeks of my cooking, you will become a man." His father, Chief Adebayo Ogunyemi, emerged from the second car. He was a mountain in a cream agbada, his gray beard trimmed sharp, his eyes soft, but weighing everything. He didn't hug. He clasped Adekunle's shoulder firmly. "You flew well?" "Yes, sir." "The jet is comfortable?" "Very." "Good." A pause. Then, almost casually, "Your mother has chosen 3 women. You will marry one before Christmas." Adekunle blinked. "Baba, I just arrived." "In Nigeria, son, a man does not arrive alone. He arrives with a purpose." The chief climbed back into his car. "Tonight we eat. Tomorrow you meet Sophia." The Ogunyemi family home in Lagos was not a house. It was a statement. Located on Banana Island, the penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a tower that glittered like a black diamond. Inside, the architect had married traditional Yoruba aesthetics with Italian modernism. The floors were polished terrazzo, cool under bare feet. The walls held original Beninese bronzes and photographs of ancestors in sepia tones. A central courtyard featured a small waterfall that cascaded over stacked Orisha carvings. The living room sofa was a massive sectional of cream velvet, wide enough for 10 people to argue about politics. On the ceiling, a chandelier made of recycled calabash shells, a nod to his mother's obsession with sustainable luxury. "Welcome to your legacy," his mother said, sweeping her arm. Adekunle walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. The Lagos skyline sprawled below, Echo Atlantic rising like a futuristic dream, the third mainland bridge a silver necklace across the lagoon. Speedboats zipped below, helicopters hummed above. "It's a lot," he admitted. "That is Nigeria," his father said, lowering himself into a leather armchair shaped like a throne. Too much, always too much, and yet never enough. He gestured to a seat. Sit. Your mother will explain the situation. Chief Mrs. Folake Ogunyemi produced an iPad covered in cowrie shells. She swiped dramatically. 3 ladies, 3 families, 3 empires. On the screen appeared a woman who looked like she'd been photoshopped by God. High cheekbones, lips glossed to perfection, hair that fell like dark water. Sophia Adeleke, 26, MBA from LBS, heiress to Adelake Logistics, ports, shipping, and a monopoly on moving things from Apapa to anywhere. Her hobby, strategic networking. Her quote, a woman who knows her worth doesn't wait for the table, she builds it. She is ambitious, her mother said. She is a shark, her father corrected. Sharks are useful, but you do not sleep next to a shark. Adekunle nodded slowly. Noted. Swipe. Jessica Okafor, 27, fashion designer. Her family owned Okafor Textiles, the largest fabric manufacturer in West Africa. Her Instagram had 2 million followers. Her smile was dazzling. Her quote, I dream in color and wake up in couture. This one, his mother said carefully, has a spirit of adventure. She speaks of Canada often, very fondly. She wants a visa, his father said flatly. Mr. Chief, don't be crude. I am being Nigerian. He sipped his tea. Continue. Swipe. Princess Kemi Adeleke Adesanya, 25, daughter of the king of Edo Osun, a wealthy village 2 hours from Lagos. Trained in traditional dance, Ifa philosophy, and the art of managing a palace household. Her father controlled 12 villages and a cement factory. Her quote, a king is only as strong as the queen who sharpens his sword. Now this, his mother said, is a woman who understands legacy. She's also, his father added, the only one who doesn't know you have a Canadian passport. To her, you are simply the son of Chief Ogunyemi. That is a good thing. Adekunle looked at her photo. She was beautiful in a severe way, like a sculpture that would cut you if you touched it wrong. So, he said slowly, I have to date 3 women in 1 week? Not date, his mother corrected. Audition. His father smiled for the first time. Welcome home, son. 3 days later, Adekunle found himself sitting in Nok by Alara, arguably the most expensive restaurant in Lagos. The space was a cathedral of contemporary African design. Suspended brass rings hung from the ceiling like floating planets. The walls were covered in hand-woven kente panels. The tables were solid iroko wood, polished until they glowed like honey. Every plate that passed looked like edible art. Tiny flowers, foam dots, gold leaf. Sophia arrived at 7:47 p.m. for their 7:30 reservation. She walked like she owned the floor. White Mugler blazer, gold necklace that spelled her name in cursive, hair straightened to a razor's edge. She sat down without saying hello, picked up the wine menu and said, your father's new LNG terminal. Tell me everything. Adekunle, mid-sip of water, nearly choked. Sorry? The liquefied natural gas project in Bani. My father says your family is taking on partners. I want to know if you're signing before or after the wedding. He set down his glass carefully. Sophia, this is our first date. I'm a practical woman. She flagged a waiter without looking. We'll have the lobster and the Dom Perignon 2015. Not the 2016. The 2015 has better structure. Back to him. Time is money, Adekunle, and frankly your time is very expensive money. For the next hour, she asked questions like an auditor. What's your net worth approximately? Are you the sole heir, or will cousins contest? Does your mother still control the trust fund? If I redecorate the Banana Island penthouse, do I have full creative control? At one point, she pulled out a small notebook and began writing. Just notes, she said, for the prenup negotiations. Adekunle stared at his lobster. It was delicious. He tasted nothing. When the bill came, 850,000, Sophia didn't even glance at it. You'll get this, right? I love that about you. A man who pays. He walked her to her car, a white G-Wagon with custom plates that read, Sophia 1. Good night, Adekunle, she said. I'll have my lawyer email your lawyer by morning. Nothing serious. just preliminary discussions about the joint asset declaration. She drove off. He stood in the parking lot for a full minute, then called his mother. "Mom, that one is not a wife. That one is a merger." His mother sighed. "I feared this. Okay. Tomorrow. Jessica." Jessica was different. She picked the location, Tarqua Bay, a secluded beach accessible only by boat. When Adekunle arrived on a small speedboat, his mother had arranged everything. Jessica was already there, barefoot, wearing a yellow bikini and oversized sunglasses, laughing with a group of local fishermen. "Adekunle!" She ran to him, threw her arms around his neck, and kissed his cheek. "Finally, a man who doesn't take me to another stuffy restaurant." She was electric. She pulled him into the waves. She taught him to curse in pidgin, "Oya, move your body, a beg," and laughed so hard when he said, "Wetin dey happen," with his Canadian accent. They rode jet skis. She stole his cap. She fed him roasted plantain with her fingers. For 3 hours, Adekunle forgot he was auditioning anyone. He was just a boy at the beach with a beautiful girl. Then they sat on the sand as the sun melted into the Atlantic. Jessica leaned close, her shoulder pressing against his. "Babe, let me ask you something, serious. Okay. When we marry," she said it like it was already decided, "we're moving to Toronto, right?" Adekunle's heart hiccuped. "I want to stay in Nigeria. Build here." Jessica's smile flickered. "But why? The traffic, the corruption, the generators, Adekunle. I'm tired of generators. In Canada, the light doesn't go off. I can fix things here. My father's companies, your father's companies will run without you." She turned to face him fully. "I've dreamed of Canada since I was a little girl. Snow, Tim Hortons, the healthcare. I already picked out a school for our kids, Forest Hill Collegiate. It's very good." He looked at her, really looked. Her eyes weren't dreaming of him. They were dreaming of a passport. "Jessica," he said gently, "do you like me, or do you like my citizenship?" She was quiet for too long. Then she laughed, but it was hollow. "You're deep, Abeg. Can't a girl want both?" He drove her back to the mainland in silence. That night he sat his parents down in the penthouse living room. The waterfall trickled softly in the courtyard. A servant brought tea in hand-painted ceramic cups. "Sophia wants a corporation, not a husband," Adekunle said, counting on his fingers. "Jessica wants a passport, not a partner. I need a woman with raw love, pure love, a woman who wants to build a home, not an empire." His mother exchanged a long glance with his father. Then she smiled slowly, the smile of a woman who had been waiting for this moment. "Then we go to the village." "The village? Ido Osun, your father's ancestral home." She leaned forward. "There, you will meet Princess Kemi, daughter of the king, raised on tradition, trained in loyalty." She paused. "But more importantly, there, you will see our culture, our dances, our festivals. You will understand who you are." "When?" "Next month. The annual dancing festival." His mother's eyes sparkled. "It's the perfect time. You will meet Kemi in her natural environment, and you will fall in love with our ways." Adekunle looked at his father. The old man nodded once, slow, final. "Pack light," Chief Adebayo said. "The village has its own rhythm." Outside the window, Lagos hummed its midnight song. A million lives, a million stories, a million chances. And somewhere 2 hours away, in a village of red earth and palm wine, a dancer named Toyi was practicing her steps for a festival she didn't yet know would change everything. The drive from Lagos to Ido Osun took 2 hours on a good day. This was not a good day. Adekunle sat in the back of a black Land Cruiser, his mother beside him, his father in the front passenger seat. The convoy included 2 additional SUVs, one for luggage, one for security. The road narrowed from 8 lanes to 4 to 2 to 1, then became red earth dotted with potholes large enough to swallow a goat. "Welcome to Village Road," his mother said cheerfully as the cruiser bounced hard enough to make his teeth click. "This is how we build character." "We could build a proper road instead," Adekunle muttered. "Ah, my son." His father turned around, smiling faintly. The road is not the problem. The contractors are the problem. They take the money, build 50 meters, then disappear to London. It is the Nigerian way. You say that like it's funny. It is either funny or we cry. His father faced forward again. I choose funny. Outside the window, the landscape changed. The glass towers of Lagos faded into memory. Now there were palm trees, cassava farms, women in bright wrappers selling oranges by the roadside, children waving at the convoy like they were witnessing a parade. Adekunle rolled down his window. The air smelled different here, earthier, slower, like time itself had decided to take a nap. Your grandfather built this village, his mother said softly. He was the first Ogunyemi to own a car. A 1962 Peugeot, white. The villagers thought it was a metal cow. Did he correct them? No, he let them sacrifice a chicken to it. Good for business. Adekunle laughed. You're joking. I am Nigerian, his mother said. We do not joke about chickens. The Ogunyemi family compound in Edo Osun was a paradox. From the outside, it looked like tradition, a large wall painted terracotta, a wooden gate carved with the family symbol, a leopard holding a palm frond. But inside, behind the wall, was a sprawling modern mansion painted warm ochre, with solar panels on the roof, a backup generator the size of a small car, and a courtyard garden filled with bougainvillea and a koi pond. The living room opened to the sky via a retractable glass ceiling. The furniture was a blend of Danish minimalism and Yoruba carved wood, low stools beside leather sofas, abstract art beside ancestral masks. Your mother insisted on updating the village house, his father said, stepping out of the SUV. I wanted mud. She said mud is for tourists. Mud has mosquitoes, his mother replied, adjusting her gele. Mosquitoes have malaria. Malaria has death. I choose air conditioning. Adekunle walked through the compound, touching everything. The walls held photographs he had never seen. His father as a young man, shirtless and laughing, holding a fishing net. His grandmother in a wrapper so bright it hurt the eyes. A baby, himself maybe, being held by an old woman with tribal marks on her cheeks. His mother said behind him. She lived to 112. She drank palm wine every morning and outlived 3 husbands. What was her secret? Mind your business, and don't argue with men who will die before you anyway. Adekunle turned. Mom, that's dark. That's Yoruba wisdom. Now shower. Tonight, we rest. Tomorrow, the festival. Sleep did not come easily. Adekunle lay in a king-sized bed with mosquito netting that looked like a bridal veil, the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles. Outside, the village sang its night song. Crickets, distant drums, a rooster that had clearly not learned what time it was. He scrolled through his phone. Messages from Sophia. I sent the prenup draft. Let's discuss. Messages from Jessica. Toronto winter is beautiful, babe. Start packing. He deleted both threads. Then he opened his camera roll. Photos from the drive. The orange cellar, the waving children, a goat standing on a car like it owned the world. He stopped on one photo. A woman dancing at a roadside stall, her back to the camera, her wrapper swirling like liquid sunset. He didn't know why he had taken it. He just knew something about the way she moved had made his chest ache. He fell asleep with the phone on his chest and dreamed of drums. The morning of the festival arrived like an invasion of joy. Adekunle woke to the sound of talking drums, gangan, bata, dundan, calling from the village square. The air smelled of frying akara, roasting corn, and something sweet he couldn't name. He dressed in the outfit his mother had laid out, a cream agbada with gold embroidery, a matching fila cap, and leather slippers. When he looked in the mirror, he saw his grandfather for the first time. You look like a proper Yoruba man, his mother said, appearing in the doorway. Now stop admiring yourself. The ancestors are waiting. The village square was an explosion of color. Hundreds of people had gathered under a canopy of iroko trees. The women wore iro and buba in every shade, indigo, coral, saffron, emerald, their gele head ties standing like sculptures. The men wore agbadas of hand-woven aso oke, their caps tilted with the particular swagger of men who knew they looked good. At the center, a raised platform held the royal family, the king, his chiefs, and a row of empty thrones. "The princess will sit there," his mother whispered, pointing to a gold cushion. "Kemi, remember her face?" Adekunle nodded, but his eyes were already wandering. The drummers warmed up, their hands blurring against goatskin. A praise singer in sunglasses too large for his face shouted improvised compliments at anyone who gave him coins. "Chief Ogunyemi, the leopard who married a lioness, your son is tall like an Iroko. Give me money." Then the dancing began. Group dances first, women in synchronized motion, their feet stamping the earth in patterns older than memory. Men followed, leaping high enough to touch the sky. Children ran between legs, laughing. Adekunle clapped along, not quite keeping rhythm, but happy. Then the solo competition started. The first few dancers were good, the next were better. A woman in gold executed a spin that made her wrapper flare like a parachute. A man balanced a calabash on his head while doing the bata shuffle. Then Toyi stepped onto the floor. She was not the tallest, not the most jeweled. She wore a simple buba of deep blue and a white wrapper with a single orange stripe. Her gele was modest, just a small knot at the side, almost casual. But when the drum spoke, she answered. Her feet moved like water finding its level. Her hips traced shapes that mathematics could not explain. Her arms floated, then snapped, then floated again. She smiled, not at the crowd but at the drum itself, as if she and the rhythm were old friends having a conversation. And then she did something no one expected. She looked directly at Adekunle. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, her eyes locked onto his. Her smile widened. She winked. Then she spun away, her wrapper blooming like a flower. The crowd erupted. Adekunle's heart stopped, then restarted, then stopped again. "Mother," he whispered, grabbing her arm. "That lady, the one in blue, who is she?" His mother followed his gaze. Her expression softened, then tightened. "Ah, that is Toyi, the best dancer in the village. She won last year's competition. I saw her in the community magazine." She patted his hand firmly. "But she is not why we are here, Adekunle. Focus." He did not focus. He watched Toyi dance until the final drum beat faded. He watched her laugh as other women hugged her. He watched her accept a calabash of palm wine and drink deeply, water dripping down her chin. Then the royal procession began, and he had to look away. The king's palace sat on a small hill overlooking the village square. It was a modern structure, glass and white marble, but built around a central courtyard that held the original palace. A mud hut with a thatched roof, preserved like a museum piece. "Tradition and progress," his father explained as they climbed the marble steps. "The king keeps the old hut to remind himself that kingship is borrowed. One day, another man will sit here. The hut stays, the marble goes." Inside, the throne room was a masterclass in royal luxury. Floors of polished black granite, walls hung with velvet curtains embroidered in gold thread, chandeliers made of Benin bronze, and at the center the king himself, Oba Adesanya IV, seated on a throne carved from a single piece of mahogany, a sculpture of a lion beside him, its mouth open in a silent roar. The king wore an agbada of royal purple and gold, a crown of coral beads that cascaded down his chest, and rings on every finger. His beard was gray and pointed. His eyes missed nothing. "Chief Ogunyemi," he said, his voice like gravel wrapped in silk. "You have returned to my village." "Your Majesty," Adekunle's father said, bowing deeply. Adekunle followed suit, his mother dipping into a low curtsy. "And this is the Canadian boy." The king studied Adekunle for a long moment. "You look like your grandfather. He was a stubborn man. He refused to bow to me once." Adekunle's mouth went dry. I hope I am not stubborn, Your Majesty. Everyone is stubborn. The question is whether you are usefully stubborn or uselessly stubborn." The king turned to his wife, who sat beside him on a smaller throne. "Woman, where is our daughter?" The queen, a woman whose gele seemed to have its own gravitational field, rolled her eyes. "Kemi, come out!" Silence. "Kemi!" A door opened. Princess Kemi emerged. She was beautiful, objectively, undeniably beautiful. Her skin was the color of dark honey. Her dress was also okay, woven with real gold thread. Her beads were real coral, the kind that cost more than a house. Her gele was a towering structure of burgundy and gold. She looked at the Ogunyemi family like she was examining a stain on her carpet. "Good evening," she said flatly. Not a question, not a greeting, a statement of fact. "Kemi," her father said, "greet our guests properly." She sighed, actually sighed, and gave a tiny nod. "Welcome." Adekunle's mother smiled through gritted teeth. "Thank you, Princess. We are honored." The king clapped his hands. "Tonight we eat. Tomorrow the young people will meet in the garden. Yes?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Adekunle's mother said quickly. As they turned to leave, Adekunle glanced back at Kemi. She was already on her phone, scrolling, her expression bored. He whispered to himself, "She has failed already." That evening after the palace dinner, 7 courses, including a goat soup that made his eyes water, Adekunle needed air. He slipped out of the compound while his parents discussed village politics with the king's chiefs. The night was worn and thick, the sky so full of stars it looked like someone had spilled salt on black velvet. He walked without thinking, following the sound of water. The river was small, more a stream than a river, curving behind the village like a silver ribbon. Bamboo grew along its banks. Fireflies blinked lazily. And there, at the water's edge, was Toi. She was filling clay pots, her back to him, humming a tune that matched the drumbeat from earlier. Her wrapper was tied above her knees, her feet bare in the mud. Adekunle cleared his throat. She spun around, dropping a pot. It didn't break, landed in the water with a soft plop. "Ah," she said, pressing a hand to her chest. "You, city man, you cannot sneak up on a village girl like that." My heart nearly left my body. "I'm sorry," he said, grinning despite himself. "I didn't mean to. People like you are not supposed to be here." She waded to the pot, retrieved it, and fixed him with a mock stern look. "This is where we fetch water, not where billionaires wander around looking confused." "How do you know I'm a billionaire?" She tilted her head. "Please, your agbada costs more than my father's yam farm, and you walk like someone who has never stepped on a goat dropping." "I have stepped on many goat droppings, just not yet in Nigeria." She laughed, a real laugh, loud and unapologetic. "See this Canadian goat-dropping prince? What is your name?" "Adekunle." "Adekunle," she repeated, testing it. "It means the crown fills the home. Do you fill your home, Adekunle?" "Not yet," he admitted. "I'm looking for someone to help me fill it." She raised an eyebrow. "And you came to the river at night to ask a water fetcher?" "I came to the river because I couldn't sleep. And because," he hesitated, "I saw you dance today." Her expression softened, just a fraction. "You were the best," he said. "You made everyone else look like they were learning." "Flattery," she said, but she was smiling. "City men are good at flattery." "I'm not flattering. I'm reporting facts." She set down her pot and crossed her arms. "Okay, Mr. Facts, what else did you see?" He stepped closer. The fireflies danced between them. "I saw someone who loves what she does. Someone who isn't trying to impress anyone. Someone who—" He stopped. "Sorry, I'm talking too much." "No," she said quietly. "You're not." They stood there for a moment, the river murmuring between them. Then Toi pointed at his feet. "You have mud on your slippers." "I told you, goat droppings." She laughed again, and Adekunle felt something shift in his chest, something he couldn't name, but didn't want to stop. He returned to the compound an hour later, his slippers caked in mud, his heart full of something dangerous. His mother was waiting in the courtyard, drinking tea. "You went to the river," she said. "I went for a walk." "The river is not a walk. The river is where girls fetch water." She set down her cup. "Adekunle, tell me you did not go to see that dancer." He sat across from her. "Her name is Toi. I know her name. I also know her father is a farmer. Her mother sells beans in the market. They are good people, honest people. But they are not what? Rich? Royal?" He leaned forward. "Mom, I met Sophia. I met Jessica. They looked at me like I was a transaction. Toyi looked at me like I was a person. His mother was quiet for a long time. Love is not a fairy tale, she said finally. Love is building a life. Can she build a life with you? Can she stand beside you at board meetings? Can she host ambassadors? Can she make me happy? He interrupted. That's the only question that matters. His mother closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. You are your father's son, she whispered. Stubborn, romantic, impossible. Is that a yes? It is a we will see. She stood up. Tomorrow, you will meet Princess Kemi in the garden. You will be polite. You will be respectful. And then, she sighed, then we will talk about Toyi. He hugged her. She smelled of shea butter and authority. Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me yet. The king will declare a war if you choose a bean seller over his daughter. Adekunle smiled, then let him declare war. Outside, the drums had stopped, the village slept, and somewhere by the river, a dancer was smiling at the stars, wondering why the Canadian prince had mud on his slippers and poetry in his eyes. Adekunle woke at dawn to the sound of a rooster that had clearly studied opera. He lay in his king-sized bed, mosquito netting pooled around him like a wedding veil, and replayed the previous evening frame by frame. The river, the fireflies, the way Toyi had laughed, a sound like breaking pots in the best possible way. He smiled at the ceiling. Then his phone buzzed. Mother, shower, eat, wear the blue Ugbata. The garden meeting is at 10 a.m. Do not disgrace me. Mother, and stay away from that river. He laughed out loud. 2 kilometers away, in the king's palace, Princess Kemi Adeleke Adesanya was having a crisis. Her room occupied the entire east wing of the palace, white marble floors, a 4-poster bed carved with leopards, a walk-in closet the size of a Lagos apartment, and a private balcony overlooking the village. The walls were decorated with her personal collection of designer handbags, each displayed in a glass case like museum artifacts. She stood before a full-length mirror, rotating through outfits like a general planning a campaign. The yellow, too friendly. The red, too aggressive. The green, too leafy. She threw the green dress on the floor. Useless. Her best friend and lady-in-waiting, Adaize, sat on the bed eating roasted groundnuts. Kemi, calm down. It's just a garden meeting. It is not just a garden meeting. Kemi spun around, her robe flaring. That man is the heir to the Ogunyemi Empire. His father owns half of Lagos. His mother's family controls the textile market in the north. If I marry him, I become the most powerful princess of my generation. And if you don't? Kemi picked up a gold necklace, examined it, threw it aside. Then I marry some village chief with 3 wives and a potbelly. Do you want that for me? Adaize chewed thoughtfully. I want you to be happy. Happiness is a fully funded bank account and a husband who travels for business often. Kemi finally settled on an outfit, a cream lace dress with gold embroidery, modest but expensive. There, elegant, regal, unbothered. Unbothered? You've changed clothes 17 times. 18, actually. You weren't counting properly. Kemi sat at her vanity and began her makeup. Now, tell me again what you found out about the Canadian boy. Adaize pulled out her phone. His name is Adekunle Ogunyemi, 28, born in Toronto, MBA from Harvard, never been to Nigeria before now, no girlfriend, no scandals. His mother says he's sensitive. Sensitive? Kemi paused her eyeliner. What does that mean? It means he probably cries during movies and wants to talk about feelings. Kemi shuddered. Nigerian men don't cry. They grunt. They provide. They sleep. Maybe Canadian men are different. Then I will train him to be Nigerian. Kemi applied lipstick, a subtle rose. By the time I'm done, he will grunt on command. Adaize opened her mouth to respond, but a knock interrupted them. Princess Kemi, a palace guard called. The Ogunyemi family has arrived at the garden. Kemi stood, smoothed her dress, and practiced her smile in the mirror. It looked like a crocodile contemplating lunch. Let the games begin. The village garden was a masterpiece of cultivated beauty, a walled paradise of flowering hibiscus, manicured grass, and a central gazebo woven from bamboo and flowering vines. A small fountain burbled in the middle, and the air smelled of jasmine and fresh palm wine. Adekunle sat in the gazebo, alone, checking his watch. 10 a.m. No Kemi. 10:15 a.m. No Kemi. 10:30 a.m. His mother sent a text. She is coming. Be patient. Royal people run on royal time. 10:45 a.m. Adekunle stood up, stretched, and made a decision. He walked out of the garden, not to the palace, not back home, to the river. Toyi was there again. This time, she wasn't fetching water. She was sitting on a flat rock, her feet in the stream, weaving a palm frond into a small basket. She wore a simple yellow top and a blue wrapper, her hair pulled back with a strip of fabric. She looked up as he approached. Ah, the goat-dropping prince returns. I told you, I've never stepped in goat, yet. She grinned. Give it time. He sat on the rock beside her, not too close, but close enough to smell the shea butter in her hair. You're not fetching water today. I fetched already. This is my relaxing time. She held up the half-woven basket. I make these for the market, 20 naira each. It's not billionaire money, but it buys beans. 20 naira, that's nothing. That's breakfast for my younger siblings. She didn't say it with bitterness, just fact. We don't all have agbadas that cost a village. He wanted to apologize. He wanted to explain. Instead, he said, teach me. Teach you what? To weave. She stared at him, then she burst out laughing, loud, full, echoing off the bamboo. You? A billionaire heir, sitting in the mud, weaving baskets? Why not? Because your mother will kill me. Because the king will exile me. Because... She stopped laughing. Because you're supposed to be in the garden with the princess. He looked at the water. I know. And yet you're here. And yet I'm here. They sat in silence for a moment. The stream whispered. A dragonfly landed on his knee, then flew away. Why? She asked quietly. Because you make me forget that I'm supposed to be someone. He turned to face her. When I'm with Sophia and Jessica and Kemi, I feel like a product they're trying to buy. When I'm with you, I feel like a person. Toyi's fingers stopped weaving. She looked at him, really looked, and for a moment her walls came down. You're dangerous, she whispered. I'm honest. Same thing in a village like this. She resumed weaving, but her hands trembled slightly. You should go, before someone sees you here. Let them see. Adekunle, his name in her mouth sounded different, softer, like she was tasting it. I am a farmer's daughter. You are a chief's son. There are rivers between us that cannot be crossed. Rivers can be bridged, not this one. She stood up, picked up her basket, and walked away without looking back. He watched her go, his chest aching. Then he walked to the garden. Kemi had arrived at 11:15 a.m., furious. She sat in the gazebo, fanning herself with a hand-painted fan, her smile frozen in place like a mask. Her mother sat beside her, whispering urgent instructions. Smile, be warm, do not mention the prenup until the third date. He didn't show up, mother. He is a man. Men get lost. It is in their nature. He didn't get lost. He went to the river. Adeyezi's cousin saw him. The queen's fan paused. The river? Why? To see her. Kemi spat the word like poison. That dancer. Toyi. The one with no father and no shame. Her father is a farmer. That is not no father. It is to me. The queen sighed. Kemi, you are beautiful. You are wealthy. You are royal. But none of that matters if you are bitter. Men can smell bitterness like dogs smell fear. Before Kemi could respond, Adekunle appeared at the garden gate. He was slightly out of breath, his slippers muddy, his agbada wrinkled, but he was smiling, a genuine boyish smile that made Kemi's heart skip despite herself. Princess Kemi, he said, bowing, I apologize for my lateness. I took a wrong turn. A wrong turn? To the river? His smile didn't waver. I'm Canadian. We get lost easily. Too much space, not enough people. The queen snorted. Kemi shot her a look. Please, sit, Kemi said, gesturing to the cushion beside her. We have much to discuss. For the next hour they talked. Or rather, Kemi talked. Adekunle listened. She told him about her education, international relations, University of Ibadan, her hobbies, horseback riding, collecting designer shoes, avoiding the village market because the smell is aggressive, her vision for the future, a husband who travels, a home in Lagos and a home in London, and children who attend the best schools in Switzerland. At one point she leaned close and said, You know, Adekunle, I've never dated a Canadian before. Do you have a passport? Dual citizenship? Both, he said carefully. Excellent. That will be useful for the children's education. He nodded, said nothing. She asked about his net worth, his inheritance timeline, whether his mother would live with them after marriage. I hope not, but I can tolerate her for holidays. When she finally paused to drink her zobo, Adekunle stood up. Thank you, princess. This has been educational. Educational? She frowned. Not romantic? I think we have different definitions of romance. He bowed again. I will speak with my parents. Good evening. He walked away. Kemi watched him go, her fingers tightening around her glass. He didn't like me, she said to her mother. He didn't dislike you. He was polite. Polite is what you say when you mean nothing. She set down the glass. Mother, find out everything about that dancer. Everything. That night, Adekunle found his mother in the compound's courtyard, supervising the cooking of a massive pot of jollof rice. The air was thick with the scent of tomatoes, onions, and secret spices. Mom, we need to talk. She didn't look up. If it's about Toyi, the answer is no. You don't even know her. I know her family. I know her father's farm produces yams that are acceptable but not exceptional. I know her mother sells beans at the market and once argued with my driver about parking. She stirred the rice vigorously. They are good people, but they are not our people. Mom, Adekunle. She finally looked at him. Her eyes were tired. Do you think I married your father for love? He froze. What? I married him because our families needed each other. His oil, my textiles. It was a merger. Love came later, much later, after 3 miscarriages and 1 business bankruptcy. She set down the stirring spoon. Love is not the beginning. Love is the reward for surviving the beginning. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. It's the truest thing you'll ever hear. She walked to him, took his hands. I am not saying no to Toyi. I am saying wait. Meet Kemi properly. Give her a chance. If after 3 dates you still feel nothing, then we will talk. 3 dates? 3 dates. That is all I ask. She squeezed his hands. For me. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. 3 dates. 3 dates. Starting when? Tomorrow. The village market. Kemi loves the market. Does she? She told me the smell is aggressive. His mother smiled. Then she will suffer for love. It builds character. That same night, Kemi sat in her room, scrolling through her phone with the intensity of a detective. Adaize had delivered a dossier on Toyi. It was not thick. Name: Toyi Olanrewaju. Age 24. Father: Chief Olanrewaju. Farmer retired. Mother: Madam Bisi Olanrewaju. Bean seller. Market stall number 14. Education: secondary school certificate. No university. Known for winning the village dance competition 2 years running. Fetching water daily from the East River. Being too loud, according to the palace elders. Relationship status: single. No known suitors. Threat level: low. No wealth, no connections, no ambition. Kemi read the dossier 3 times. Then she laughed. This is who I'm worried about? A water fetcher with no degree? She's very pretty, Adaize offered. Pretty is common. Pretty fades. Pretty does not buy a house in Banana Island. Kemi tossed the phone aside. Tomorrow, the market. I will show that Canadian boy what a real woman looks like. And if he still prefers her? Kemi's smile turned cold. Then we remind him that princesses have powers that dancers do not. She picked up her phone and dialed a number. Father? Yes, I need a small favor. Nothing illegal. Just a message. She paused, listening. The dancer. Toi. I want her watched. And if she goes near the river again, I want to know. She hung up satisfied. Outside, the village drums had begun to beat, a different rhythm now. Darker. Warning. Adekunle woke early, determined. 3 dates. He would survive 3 dates. Then he would tell his mother the truth, that Kemi was a beautiful statue with no heartbeat, and Toi was the only woman who made him feel like the earth was worth standing on. He dressed simply. Jeans, a white linen shirt, leather sandals, no agbada, no pretense. His mother met him at the gate. Good, you're ready. Kemi will meet us at the market entrance at 9. Us? Did you think I would let you navigate the village market alone? You would buy a goat, thinking it was a bag of rice. He laughed to spite himself. Fair point. They walked together through the waking village. Children ran past, chasing a dog. Old men sat under trees, drinking tea and pretending not to watch. Women balanced baskets on their heads, their hips swaying to a rhythm only they could hear. The market was chaos. Rows upon rows of stalls, selling everything. Tomatoes piled like red mountains, fish still flopping on ice, fabrics in colors that hurt the eyes, secondhand shoes, live chickens, phone chargers, traditional medicines in unlabeled bottles, and in the middle of it all, surrounded by bodyguards, stood Princess Kemi. She wore a simple blue dress and a small gele, a tempting approachable. But her sunglasses were designer, her sandals were Italian, and her expression said, I am tolerating this for a visa. Adekunle. She air-kissed both his cheeks. Welcome to the market. Isn't it rustic? I love it, he said honestly. She blinked. You do? The energy, the people, the way everything is alive. He looked around, smiling. In Canada, our markets are sterile. Everything in plastic. Here, you can smell the earth on the vegetables. Kemi's smile twitched. Yes, earth. Charming. His mother intervened smoothly. Shall we walk? I need tomatoes for tonight's stew. They walked. For an hour, Adekunle asked questions. Kemi gave answers that revealed nothing. What's your favorite thing about the village? The palace. It has air conditioning. What do you do for fun? Shop. In Lagos, where things work. What's your dream? To never step on a chicken dropping again. At the fabric stall, Kemi haggled aggressively with a merchant over the price of aso oke. She won, but the merchant's face said she would not be welcome back. Adekunle watched, silent. Then he saw Toi. She was 3 stalls away, helping her mother arrange beans in colorful pyramids. She wore a simple green wrapper and a faded t-shirt that said Canada in peeling letters. Her hair was loose, falling over her face as she worked. She looked up. Their eyes met. She smiled, small, sad, knowing. Then she looked away. Part X. The incident. Kemi noticed. Who are you staring at? She demanded. Nobody. That's the dancer. Kemi's voice dropped to ice. The water fetcher. The one you visited at the river. I was at the river for fresh air. Fresh air. In a village? With a woman? She laughed. A sharp, ugly sound. Adekunle, I am not stupid. I know you've been avoiding me. I know you went to the garden late because you were with her. He said nothing. Kemi stepped closer, her perfume clashing with the market smells of fish and smoke. Let me explain something to you, Canadian boy. In this village, I am the sun. Everything revolves around me. That dancer, she is a shadow. She fetches water. She dances for coins. She is nothing. Don't, Adekunle said quietly. Don't what? Tell the truth? Don't speak about her like that. Kemi's mouth fell open. His mother, a few steps away, stopped examining tomatoes and turned to watch. You're defending her? Kemi whispered. A bean seller's daughter? I'm defending a person you don't even know. He met her eyes. Princess, you are beautiful, you are wealthy, you are royal, but you are not kind. And I cannot marry someone who is not kind. The market went silent. Even the chickens stopped squawking. Kemi's face cycled through emotions. Shock, anger, humiliation, and finally cold fury. Fine, she said, if that is how you feel. She turned to her bodyguards. We're leaving. She walked away, her sandals snapping against the dirt. The market exhaled. His mother walked to him, her face unreadable. That was not 3 dates. I don't need 3 dates to know poison when I taste it. She will make trouble. Let her. His mother sighed, long, deep, weary. You are your father's son. Stubborn, romantic, doomed. Maybe. He looked toward the beanstalk. Toyi was gone. But at least I'll be happy. Part 11. The King's Fury. That evening, the palace thrummed with tension. Kemi sat in the throne room, her face swollen from crying, or from fury, it was hard to tell. The king paced before the lion sculpture, his royal staff tapping the marble floor with each step. He said I was not kind, Kemi repeated for the 5th time. In front of the entire market, in front of her. The dancer? Yes, father. The water fetcher. The nobody. She threw her hands up. He chose a bean seller over a princess. Do you understand what that means? It means, the queen said carefully, that he values character over status. Mother, whose side are you on? The side that keeps our family from looking desperate. The queen stood. Kemi, you cannot force a man to love you, and you cannot destroy a woman just because he prefers her. I can try, Kemi. I am a princess. She stood, her voice echoing off the marble walls. I have power. I have resources. I have— You have a tantrum, her father interrupted. Sit down. She sat. The king stopped pacing. He looked at his daughter, really looked, and for a moment, the hardness in his face softened. You want this boy? Yes. Or you want to win? Kemi was silent. Because those are different things, her father continued. If you want the boy, you change. You become softer, kinder. You learn to smile at bean sellers and pretend the market doesn't smell. If you want to win, then what? Then we destroy the dancer. He tapped his staff. But destroying her will not make him love you. It will only make him hate us. Kemi stared at her hands. They were trembling. I want both, she whispered. I want to win, and I want him. The king sighed. Then we go to war. A small war. A romantic war. How? Tomorrow we visit Chief Ogunyemi. We demand answers. We make our case. He smiled, thin, sharp. And we remind the Canadian boy that in this village, princesses do not lose to dancers. Outside, the drums changed again. War drums. Adekunle sat by the river. He had come here without thinking, his feet carrying him where his heart already was. But Toyi was not there. Only the water, the fireflies, and the memory of her laugh. His phone buzzed. Mother, the king is coming tomorrow. 10 a.m. Wear something serious. Mother, and stay away from that river. He smiled at the second message. Too late for that. He was about to leave when he heard footsteps. Toyi emerged from the shadows, a lantern in her hand. She looked tired, her hair loose, her wrapper simple, her eyes red. You shouldn't be here, she said. You shouldn't either. The difference is, I have nowhere else to go. She sat on the rock, her rock, the one she always used. I heard what happened at the market. Word travels fast. In a village, word travels before it happens. She looked at him. You defended me, to a princess. I told the truth. The truth is dangerous. She hugged her knees. My mother is scared. She says the king will punish us, raise our taxes, take our stall, make our lives hard. He wouldn't. He would. He has before. She looked at the water. That's what power does, Adekunle. It crushes small people to remind big people who's in charge. He moved closer. I won't let him hurt you. You? She laughed, but it was sad, hollow. You're leaving. After the festival, you go back to Canada, back to your agbadas and your private jets. And I stay here, fetching water, dancing for coins. I'm not leaving. Everyone leaves. Not me. She looked at him. The lantern light flickered between them, casting shadows that danced like the drums. Why? She whispered. Because I found something I didn't know I was looking for. He reached out, slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers touched hers, just a brush, just a question. And for a moment, the war didn't matter. The king didn't matter. The princess, the palace, the empire, none of it mattered. Only the river, the fireflies, and the quiet miracle of two hands finding each other in the dark. Adekunle did not sleep. He lay in his bed, the ceiling fan spinning uselessly against the heat, and replayed the night by the river. Toi's fingers in his. The way she had pulled away too quickly, as if burned. The way she had whispered, "This cannot end well," before disappearing into the darkness. He had wanted to follow her. But some instincts, older than logic, told him to wait. At 6 a.m., his door burst open. His mother stood in the doorway, already dressed in a battle-ready agbada of deep indigo, her gele tied so high it seemed to challenge the sky. "Get up!" The king's convoy was spotted at the village border. Adekunle sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, it's 6 in the morning. In the village, wars start at 6. The mosquitoes are less aggressive." She threw a fresh agbada at his face. "Wear the black one. It says, 'I am mourning your common sense.'" He dressed quickly. As he tied his cap, his father appeared in the doorway, calm, steady, holding a cup of tea, like a man about to watch a football match he already knew the score of. "Son," Chief Adebayo said, "whatever happens today, do not raise your voice. Do not insult the king. Do not touch his daughter, even to shake her hand. And if the dancer's name comes up, it will come up. Then speak of her with respect, not passion. Respect confuses angry men. Passion fuels them." Adekunle nodded. "Yes, sir." His father sipped his tea. "Good, now let's go watch a princess have a breakdown." The Ogunyemi compound had never seen such a procession. 6 SUVs, 20 palace guards in ceremonial armor, a praise singer walking ahead, shouting the king's accolades, the lion who cannot be caged, the father of fathers, the man whose first son was a legend. And at the center, carried in a palanquin adorned with leopard skin, sat Oba Adesanya IV. Behind him, in a separate SUV, sat Princess Kemi. Her face was a mask of serene fury. She wore a gown of gold aso oke that probably cost more than the village school. Her gele was a tower of burgundy silk. Her jewelry alone could have fed the market for a month. The palanquin stopped at the compound gate. The king descended slowly, deliberately, leaning on a carved staff topped with a solid gold lion. Chief Adebayo stepped forward and knelt. "Your Majesty, our home is honored." The king did not smile. "Is it? Because your son has dishonored my daughter." Adekunle's mother inhaled sharply. Adekunle himself stayed still, his father's words echoing in his head. "Do not raise your voice. Let us discuss inside," Chief Adebayo said, "with cool heads and cold drinks." The king studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Lead the way." The Ogunyemi living room had been rearranged to receive royalty. The usual sofas were pushed aside. At the head of the room sat a temporary throne, a high-backed chair draped in velvet, borrowed from the palace for the occasion. The king sat there, his lion staff beside him. Kemi sat to his right, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk looking for prey. Chief Adebayo sat across from the king. Adekunle's mother stood behind her husband, her hands folded. Adekunle sat to his father's left, his back straight, his face neutral. Servants brought drinks, zobo for the king, palm wine for the princess, tea for the Ogunyemis. No one touched anything. The king spoke first. "Your son was supposed to meet my daughter in the garden. He went to the river instead. To see a dancer. I went for fresh air," Adekunle said calmly. "You went for her." Kemi's voice cut like a blade. "I had witnesses. Adeze's cousin, the fisherman's son, even the goat at the riverbank saw you. Kemi." The king raised a hand. She fell silent, but her glare did not soften. "Chief Ogunyemi," the king continued, "I raised my daughter to be a queen. She has royal blood, royal training, royal everything, and your son prefers a bean seller's daughter who fetches water like a commoner." "Your Majesty," Adekunle's mother said carefully, "my son is Canadian-born. He does not yet understand our ways. Give him time." "Time?" Kemi laughed. "Time for what? To fall in love with a dancer who cannot spell investment portfolio?" Adekunle stood up. Every guard in the room tensed. His father shot him a warning look. But Adekunle did not raise his voice. He did not clench his fists. He simply looked at Kemi with something close to pity. "You're right," he said quietly. "Toyi cannot spell investment portfolio. She also cannot spell pretend, or manipulate, or marry someone for their passport." Kemi's mouth fell open. "I am not a prize to be won," Adekunle continued. "I am a person. And the woman I marry will love me, not my father's money, not my Canadian citizenship, not my mother's connections. She will love me." The room was silent. Then the king laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of a man who had just realized he had lost a battle he didn't know he was fighting. "You have your mother's mouth," the king said to Adekunle, "and your father's stubbornness, a dangerous combination. I prefer to call it honesty. Honesty does not keep a kingdom together. Honesty does not build empires. Honesty is a luxury for poor people. Then I am happy to be poor in honesty than rich in lies." The king's eyes narrowed. For a moment, Adekunle thought he had gone too far. Then Chief Adebayo spoke. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice like slow honey, "my son is a fool. All young men are fools, but he is an honest fool. And I would rather have an honest fool marry a poor woman of character than a wealthy woman of convenience." Kemi gasped. "Did you just call me—" "I called no one anything," Chief Adebayo interrupted smoothly. "I spoke generally, in proverbs, as old men do." The king stood, his guards snapped to attention. "Here is my judgment," the king said. "There will be a final test, a dance." Adekunle blinked. "A dance? At tomorrow's village meeting. The dancer, Toyi, will perform. My daughter will also perform. The ancestors will decide who moves with truth in her heart." He pointed his staff at Adekunle. "And you will watch. At the end you will choose, publicly, in front of the entire village. And if I choose Toyi, then the war is over. I will accept defeat. My daughter will marry someone else." He paused. "But if you choose Kemi, I won't. Young man, I am not finished." The king stepped closer. "The dancer leaves the village. Forever. She and her family will be given land in another district, generously. No hard feelings. But she cannot stay where she broke a princess's heart." Adekunle's blood ran cold. "You would exile her?" "I would relocate her, for her own safety. Village gossip can be sharp." Toyi's words from the night before echoed in his head. That's what power does. It crushes small people to remind big people who's in charge. "Your Majesty," Adekunle said slowly, "I accept your terms." "Adekunle," his mother hissed. He ignored her. "But I have one condition." The king raised an eyebrow. "You are in no position to make conditions." "Then consider it a request." Adekunle met the king's eyes. "Let Toyi choose her own song, her own dance, her own costume. Kemi can have the palace drummers, the royal tailors, the best of everything. But let Toyi dance free." The king was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled, a real smile, touched with respect. "Done." Kemi stood up, her chair scraping the floor. "Father, you cannot—" "I am the king. I can do whatever I want." He looked at his daughter. "If you cannot win against a bean seller's daughter when she is dancing free and you have every advantage, then you do not deserve to win." Kemi's face crumpled. For the first time, she looked less like a princess and more like a girl who had been told she wasn't special. She walked out without another word. That evening, Adekunle found Toyi at the river. She was not fetching water. She was not weaving baskets. She was sitting on her rock, staring at the water, her shoulders trembling. He sat beside her. "I heard," she whispered. "The whole village heard. The king's judgment, the dance. Are you scared?" She laughed, a wet, broken sound. "I am a farmer's daughter. I have no royal training, no costume made of gold, no palace drummers." She turned to him, and he saw that she had been crying. "How am I supposed to compete with a princess?" "You're not competing with a princess," he said gently. "You're dancing, that's all. Just dance the way you danced at the festival. The way that made me forget my own name. That was different. I wasn't dancing for anything then. Then dance for nothing now." He took her hand, openly, without hiding. Dance for yourself, dance for the river, dance for the ancestors, but do not dance for me, because I have already chosen you, Toyi. I chose you the moment you winked at me from the dance floor. She stared at him. You're serious. I have never been more serious about anything in my life. But your family? My family wants me to be happy. You make me happy. But the king made a deal. He will honor it. She was quiet for a long time. The fireflies danced between them. The river whispered secrets. Then she squeezed his hand. Okay, she said, I'll dance. He smiled. That's all I ask. And Adekunle? Yes? If I lose? You won't. But if I do, she looked at him, her eyes fierce. You still choose me, not because of a dance, because of this. She pressed her free hand to her chest, because of what is here. He leaned forward and kissed her forehead, soft, reverent, like a prayer. Could make me choose otherwise. The village square had been transformed. Thousands of people gathered under the Iroko trees. Farmers, merchants, children, elders, everyone within a day's walk. The king's throne sat on the raised platform, draped in purple and gold. Beside it, a smaller seat for Chief Adebayo and his wife. And in front, an open space for the dance. Adekunle sat between his parents, his heart pounding so hard he was sure the entire village could hear it. Relax, his mother whispered. You look like you're attending your own funeral. I feel like I am. Love is dramatic, his father added. Embrace it. The drummers began, a slow, steady beat that called the village to attention. The king stood. Today, the ancestors will judge. 2 women, 1 dance, 1 choice. He raised his staff. First, my daughter, Princess Kemi. The crowd murmured. Palace drummers exploded into a complex rhythm, trained, polished, perfect. Kemi emerged from behind the platform. She was stunning. Her costume was aso oke, woven with real gold thread, layered over a corset of coral beads. Her gele was a masterpiece, taller than her head, wrapped with mathematical precision. Her feet moved with the precision of someone who had been trained since childhood. She danced beautifully, technically flawless. Every gesture had meaning. Every step told a story. But the crowd did not cheer. They watched, they nodded, they appreciated. But no one's heart raced. Kemi finished with a dramatic pose. Her arms spread, her face triumphant. The applause was polite, respectful, nothing more. She knew it. Her smile faltered. The king cleared his throat. And now, Toyi Olanrawaju. The crowd leaned forward. For a moment, nothing happened. The drummers paused. The village held its breath. Then Toyi walked into the square. She wore no gold, no coral, no aso oke. She wore a simple white wrapper and a blue buba, the same outfit she had worn the first time Adekunle saw her. Her hair was loose, falling over her shoulders. Her feet were bare. She carried nothing but a small gourd of water. The crowd whispered, Is she joking? Where is her costume? Why is she carrying water? Then she set down the gourd, raised her hands, and began to move. There were no palace drummers, no complex rhythms, just a single gangan player, an old man with gray hair and eyes that had seen everything, who began a simple, steady beat. Toyi danced like water, not the controlled water of a fountain, the wild water of the river, free, unpredictable, alive. Her feet did not follow rules. Her hips did not calculate. Her arms did not perform, they spoke. She danced the story of a village girl who fetched water every morning, who carried her family on her back, who dreamed of nothing more than a full pot and a quiet evening. She danced the story of a woman who had been told she was not enough, not rich enough, not royal enough, not worthy enough. And then she danced the story of a woman who realized that enough was not something the world gave you, it was something you gave yourself. Halfway through the dance, she picked up the gourd. She poured water over her own head, slow, deliberate, like a baptism. The crowd gasped. She laughed, a real laugh, loud and joyful, and kept dancing. Water dripped down her face, her neck, her arms. She did not wipe it away. She let it fall. She let it be. When she finished, she stood still, breathing hard, smiling, The village was silent. Then an old woman in the back began to clap. Then a child, then a farmer, then a merchant. Within seconds, the entire square erupted, not polite applause, but thunder, shouts, whistles, tears. Toi had not danced for the king, she had danced for them. Adekunle was on his feet before he knew it, clapping so hard, his palms stung. His mother was crying. His father was nodding slowly, a rare smile on his face. Kemi sat on her throne, her face white. The king raised his staff for silence. "The ancestors have spoken," he said. His voice was heavy. "And so must I." He looked at Adekunle. "Choose." Adekunle stepped forward. The crowd held its breath. "My choice," he said, loud enough for the entire village to hear, "is Toi Olenrewaju." The crowd exploded again, but this time it was different. This was not just celebration. This was relief. The village had chosen its champion, and she had won. Toi stood frozen in the center of the square, water still dripping from her hair, tears streaming down her face. Adekunle walked to her. He took both her hands. "You danced like the river," he said softly. "I danced like me," she whispered back. "That's what I said." She laughed, that beautiful broken pot laugh, and threw her arms around his neck. The crowd cheered louder. The king kept his word. He stood from his throne, walked to Toi, and bowed, slightly but unmistakably. "You have the heart of a queen," he said. "I was wrong to dismiss you." Toi bowed back. "You were protecting your daughter, Your Majesty. I understand." Kemi, however, did not understand. She stormed off the platform, her gold dress dragging in the dirt, her face a mask of fury. Her mother followed her, whispering urgently. That night, in the palace, Kemi sat in her room and cried for 3 hours. Then she called Adaizi. "Find me a richer man," she said, "with a bigger house and a private jet. Kemi, and make sure he has no interest in dancers." Adaizi sighed. "I'll try." "Don't try. Do." She hung up and stared at her ceiling. For the first time in her life, she wondered if being a princess was enough. It was not a comfortable thought. 3 months later, the village of Ido Osun hosted a wedding the likes of which it had never seen. The Ogunyemi Empire spared no expense. Tents were flown in from Dubai, flowers from Holland, caterers from Lagos, a live band from London. But the ceremony itself was traditional, Yoruba to the core. Toi wore a white iro and buba with silver embroidery, her gele tied by her mother, her hands stained with henna. Adekunle wore an agbada of cream and gold, his fila cap tilted at a jaunty angle. The king himself officiated. He had decided, he said, that forgiveness was cheaper than a feud. Kemi attended. She wore a stunning dress, smiled politely, and left early. No one blamed her. Toi's mother cried the entire ceremony. Her father, a quiet man with calloused hands, simply hugged Adekunle afterward and said, "Take care of my river girl." "I will, sir, with my life." The dancing went until dawn, and when the drummers played the final song, Adekunle pulled Toi close. "You know," he said, "my mother still thinks you're not our people." Toi raised an eyebrow. "And what do you think?" "I think our people is whoever makes us laugh, whoever fetches water with dignity, whoever dances like the river." He kissed her forehead. "I think you are my people." She smiled, that smile that had stopped his heart at the festival, that had winked at him across a crowded square, that had chosen him as much as he had chosen her. "You're still too elegant for this village," she teased. "And you're still too loud for a princess." "Good." She pulled him into the dance. "Because I never wanted to be a princess." "What did you want to be?" She looked at him, really looked, and her eyes were full of fireflies and rivers and the kind of love that needed no empire. "Yours," she said, "just yours." The drums played on, the village danced, and Adekunle Ogunyemi, the Canadian heir who came home looking for a wife, finally understood what his mother had meant. Love is not the beginning. Love is the reward for surviving the beginning. He had survived, and now holding Toyi in the middle of a village that had become his home, he collected his reward. 1 year later, the Oganyemi compound in Ito-Osun had a new addition, a small dance studio built by the river with open walls that let the breeze through. Every evening, Toyi taught the village children to dance, not for competitions, not for kings, just for joy. Adekunle sat on the porch every evening, watching her, his laptop open on his knees, running his father's companies remotely. He had not returned to Canada. He had not wanted to. One evening, as the sun set and the fireflies began their dance, Toyi walked up to him, sweaty and smiling. "You're staring again." "I'm admiring." "Same thing." She sat on his lap, careless of the sweat. "The children want to know if you'll dance with them tomorrow." "Me? Dance? Scared? Terrified? Good." She kissed his cheek. "That's how you know it's love." Behind them, in the house, his mother was cooking jollof rice and arguing with his father about the best brand of tomato paste. Some things, Adekunle thought, never changed, but some things did. He had come to Nigeria looking for a wife. He had found a river, a dancer, and a love so raw and pure that no empire could contain it. He looked at Toyi, her head on his shoulder, her fingers intertwined with his. "I love you," he said. "I know," she replied, grinning. "I made you dance, didn't I?" He laughed, loud, full, free, and the river whispered on, carrying their joy to the sea. And so, dear listener, the Canadian heir found his heart not in a palace of gold, but by a river of truth. He learned what his money could never buy, a love that asked for nothing but gave everything. Toyi taught him that raw love doesn't wear a crown. It carries water. It dances in the rain. It chooses you back. This story was for everyone who has ever felt like they weren't enough, not rich enough, not royal enough, not worthy enough. Toyi's victory is yours. Adekunle's journey is ours. Because at the end of the day, the greatest empire any of us can build is a home where love is real. If this tale made you laugh, cry, or simply believe in the magic of choosing kindness over status, then it has done its work. Like, subscribe, and share the magic. If you enjoyed The Billionaire Heir and The River Dancer, smash that like button. It tells me you want more African romance, more modern Nigerian tales, and more stories where love wins. Subscribe to this channel, /follow this page. New stories drop every week. Next up, The Lagos Lawyer and the Village Healer, a story of secrets, tradition, and a love that crosses two worlds. Comment below. Who was your favorite character? Team Toyi or Team Kemi? What other story would you like to hear? Royal drama, village comedy, city romance? Share your own river moment, a time you chose love over logic. Share this story with a friend who needs a reminder that true love doesn't check your bank account. Send it to your group chat. Post it on your WhatsApp status. Let the world know, love is not an empire. It is a home. What's coming next? Coming soon, The Lagos Lawyer and the Village Healer. When a hotshot Lagos attorney returns to her village for a case, she meets a traditional healer who doesn't believe in courts. Sparks fly. Ancestors laugh. Love finds the way. Also in development, The King's Second Daughter, the sequel you didn't know you needed. What happens when Kemi finds a man who actually likes her fire? Let's just say, even princesses get second chances. As we say in Yoruba land, Yigi gbegiri ni iyawori, kolmo pe okore ni okan ninu. The bride saw the bean soup not knowing her husband was one of the servers. Sometimes, love hides in plain sight. Sometimes, it fetches water by the river. Sometimes it wears a Canadian accent and muddy slippers. Keep your heart open. Keep dancing your own dance. And never let anyone tell you that you are not enough. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling this story with me. And I will see you in the next chapter. Odabo. Goodbye for now. Your storyteller. Subscribe. Tap the bell icon to never miss a new story. Share this tale with one person who needs to smile today. And remember, the best love stories are the ones we live. The end. But only for now.